Wow, 1, 2. Oh, can we count to 4 and beyond? All right, the July 25th, 2012 special meeting of the City Council is called to order. This meeting's been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2 and are closed captioned for our hearing impaired viewers. Please note some of the customers of Cox Communication who do not have a cable box may view this meeting on digital channel 89.5. This special council meeting as well as all other KCLV programming may be viewed on the internet www.lasvegasnevada.gov. The proceedings will be rebroadcast Friday at 8 p.m., Saturday at 3 p.m., Sunday at 10 p.m., Monday at 6 a.m., and Tuesday at 8 a.m. This building is protected by a state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler system. If alarms should activate during today's meetings, please evacuate using the exits. Once outside, assemble on the Las Vegas Boulevard side of the property. Employees wearing safety vests or our city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. If there's anyone present today who has need for hearing impaired equipment, please see the city clerk's staff up front here. If you've received a parking garage, if you parked, if not if you received, you do not get parking garages. If you've parked in the parking garage across the street and did not receive a validation ticket as you entered the chambers, please exit to your right and see the security personnel at the entrance. Before we proceed with the agenda, would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You say that in one breath, Ross?
That's the proper way. Okay. Public hearing. For possible action to receive testimony for and against the proposed redevelopment plan for redevelopment Area 2 and to provide any direction deemed necessary or appropriate. This is in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian's. This hearing today satisfies requirements of NRS for a hearing on a new redevelopment plan as well as in lieu of a recommending committee for Bill 2012-33. All public comment will be taken today and made part of the final minutes on Bill 2012-33. This is a public hearing which I now declare open. Mr. Arndt, front and center stage.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Good afternoon. For the record, Bill Arndt, Director, Economic and Urban Development. I have a very brief presentation to go over the purpose of our redevelopment area number 2 that's up for consideration at today's hearing. I'm going to show you the map of the area, the benefits of being included in the area, what it means to businesses in the area and property owners, and then explain the backup documentation in the backup for this public hearing, summarize some of the findings in one of the reports, and then open it up for public comment. The purpose, redevelopment is a fiscal tool that cities use to try to address areas that are experiencing decline. It's commonly used throughout the country to focus on downtown areas and urban neighborhoods surrounding downtown. And we've used it successfully in Las Vegas dating back to 1986. There's been a lack of new private investment or underinvestment in areas where we've established redevelopment areas. The areas also show a declining tax roll, meaning the property values are actually declining, which means less revenue coming into not just the city, but various jurisdictions throughout the state for public services, and physical blight as well. And I'll touch on that in a minute. It allows new property taxes from new development to be set aside for reinvesting in the area. So all the existing tax revenue that the property owners in the area are paying today will still go to all the various jurisdictions for education, all the services from the state, the county level. We're only talking about new taxes from new development. And then the goal is to try to attract new private investment into the area. This is a map of the area. We have sent notices out to all of the property owners that are identified on this map. The area in yellow shows the current council ward primarily affected, which is Ward 1. And the parcels which are highlighted in gray are the parcels which are proposed to be included into the redevelopment area. We've taken a corridor approach where we've looked at 3 of our commercial corridors within the city's boundaries that really are some of our older corridors just west of our downtown area. It includes the Charleston Boulevard corridor, the Decatur Boulevard corridor, and Sahara Avenue. So these areas are proposed for inclusion into the area. What does that mean if you're a business in the area, if you're a property owner in the area? Well, what it means is, again, as I mentioned, redevelopment primarily is a fiscal tool, so we potentially have new resources available for reinvesting in the area that we otherwise wouldn't have. So we do have some established programs that have been successful in our current area, including our visual improvement program, which is a matching grant program for businesses, primarily small businesses, that are investing monies into improving their storefronts, everything from new awnings, new paint, landscaping, signage. It's made a dramatic impact in a lot of commercial areas throughout our downtown community and some of the neighborhoods in East Las Vegas and West Las Vegas surrounding downtown. The other thing is we potentially have some capital funding sources, some new sources over time from that new tax increment to reinvest back into the area. That can do any number of things. It can be infrastructure, upgrading streets and sidewalks, providing infrastructure for new development where maybe the existing infrastructure is old and outdated, and but for our investment, a private commercial project would not move forward. The investment can help attract new private investment to the area and also attract new businesses. In our current redevelopment area, the tax base over the last 10 years, even with the big real estate correction, has grown by over 55%. So without our public investment, we don't think we would have had the level of private investment that we've had. And it can long-term help property values. The idea is that we set aside some money for a specific period of time, a 30-year period, and because we're paying attention to this area and investing additional resources, we would expect property values to increase over the long term. For property owners, whether you're in the area or outside the area, there's no change in the actual property tax rate, the rate that you pay as a taxpayer. So whether you're in the area or out, your tax rate is uniform throughout the city. So immediately there's no impact on day one. You're not paying more in taxes than you're doing today. It's only through new development or appreciation in property that we would experience any incremental revenue coming into the agency. There is a backup report, and one of the items focuses on these issues, how we did the corridor approach, the conditions of the area, how we're going to fund this. The initial valuation on the tax rolls for the area is just over $287 million. Sounds like a big number, but that's roughly only about 2% of the tax base for the whole city. And then further, we're not getting the tax revenue from that existing tax base. Again, that base tax revenue goes to all the jurisdictions that enjoy that revenue today: education, the state, the county, library district, city fire, et cetera. We're only getting new revenue from new development. So for instance, if there's a 1% increase in valuation in the first year, that first year would only yield about an additional $72,000 in revenue. So we're not talking about a windfall of revenue. Redevelopment is a long-term process. We're looking at this area through the lens of a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year time horizon. Because of that, we did feel need to have some seed money into the area, and you and the council, under a separate item, approved some seed money into the area to get the area started, and that's money that's already been appropriated for the current fiscal year budget. We're going to wisely invest that money into projects in the area, and we've had a lot of success in getting private investment matching up to public dollars. For example, that VIP program, we've received generally about $18 of private money for every $1 that we've invested through that program, one city dollar. So there's been a tremendous return on investment. Some of our larger projects, there's some different metrics, but that just goes to show you that we are having a mind towards trying to generate new private investment in the area. And a lot of it's going to be just one small business, one at a time. We did do a blight study, and we had a third-party consultant do a peer review of that study to make sure that we were following the requirements of state law. State law requires that when we identify this area, we have to document blight. That is a term that the law uses. It's not a term that we particularly like using, but it really pertains to the area physically. Has it experienced physical decline? Maybe through no fault of any of the existing property owners, but properties and buildings become outdated for their use. Some of the situations which we encountered in the area are some parcels or plots of land that have irregular shapes to where maybe 30 years ago they were conducive for business. But in today's economy and today's marketplace, they're not conducive because you can't build new professional office or new retail because there isn't room for parking. So there are any number of varieties of how we meet that test. They're laid out in state law. And my team, over a period of several months, went out property by property, building by building in that area to document the physical condition of the properties and whether or not the properties meet the definition of blight. The area that's highlighted, I would emphasize, if there are property owners that own properties and buildings in the area that have experienced some new money or new investment and look good, that doesn't mean that we're labeling your building blighted. What it means is we're labeling the area under that state law blight. So we certainly have some shining examples of some wonderful properties in that area that have experienced a lot of new investment. What we're concerned about is the properties that have not experienced new investment, that are vacant, that are, haven't experienced any new upgrades in a while, and there are a lot of properties in these areas that meet those characteristics. So for today, we did send out notices to every property owner in the area. We published a notice. We fielded a lot of phone inquiries from about almost 3 dozen residents. Most of the questions pertain to what is the city's interest in my property? Are you going to be buying my property? Again, redevelopment is a fiscal tool. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to go in and do anything with individual properties. We want to work directly with the property owners. We want to work with the businesses in the area. What are your intentions for the property? What are your plans? How can we partner as a city in a public-private partnership to make you successful? Small business and large business alike. One quick example is the area in and around the medical district by UMC Valley Hospital. That area has a lot of some of our older businesses in the entire valley. What can we do as a city to support those businesses to reinvest back in the area? Those are the kinds of dialogues and discussions we want to have. Finally, there is an opt-out provision if, after hearing the benefits of redevelopment, an individual property owner does not want to participate in the area. We can remove an individual property owner from the area. All we need is something in writing, a letter would suffice. We can take it today or any time before the final adoption of the area, which will not happen until you consider an ordinance and a bill, which is scheduled to be heard for final reading on August 15th. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. And again, this is a public hearing, so Mayor, with your direction, we can open it up to public comment as well.
Thank you, Ms. Darnt. That was very comprehensive. Anyone who wishes to be heard on this item, please come forward, state your name for our record, and we will proceed through that.
Your Honor.
And it is
Your Honor,
germane only to this item, please. Councilman?
I had a question for Bill Arndt.
Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Arndt, could you come back to the podium, please? Councilman Coffin has a question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mayor. Bill, I just wanted to make sure, sometimes there's a reputation that redevelopment has, but it can be tangled in with other things. The city's always had the power to condemn. Sometimes it's had condemned under redevelopment, sometimes not. And so I want to make sure that we understand we're not taking any additional powers unto ourselves for any sort of thing like that, especially in light of the fact that the voters passed ballot questions which limited the ability to do that based upon abuses, or I should say maybe mistakes by the city. Downtown, I'm thinking of the Pappas property and some other things. Would you assure us about that?
Certainly, and it's a common question that comes up. There were some cases years ago where the city, through the redevelopment agency, did use eminent domain One of the things that we did as staff is work directly with the city council, and the city council at the time in 2006 adopted by ordinance a policy that we're following to this day. We followed it ever since, that we will not use eminent domain for taking for redevelopment agency for private-to-private transactions. And in fact, most of the sales that have happened in the redevelopment area since that time have been completely private-to-private. At times, the agency does enter into discussions to buy property with willing sellers. So willing seller, willing buyer, fair market value discussions. We do from time to time look to buy property. We have acquired some property over the years, but they have been from willing sellers. And again, we've adopted by ordinance, by that resolution, a policy directive from the board to not use eminent domain. So it's not staff's desire to use eminent domain moving forward. It's not contemplated by the redevelopment plan and the corresponding documents that are part of the discussion today. But we do have that official resolution. It's city ordinance, and as long as that's on the books, that's the official policy of the city.
Thank you.
Okay, please, will you come forward, state your name for the record, and address your issue?
My name is, does the mic work really well? Does it? Okay. My name is Juanita Clark, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Charleston Neighborhood Preservation today. We have a little list of things, and even though it was mentioned to stay on topic, we do want to wish you summer greetings here in the midsummer, and just let you know that we are watching the increases in the new taxes and the fines and stuff like that that's being put on us. But and we, the people, have some constructive comments and some questions regarding the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency relocation rules and regulations. Do you have a clerk to take?
Yes,
But
right
it's a
here to the
long
clerk.
reach.
Perhaps someone can reach back. Thank you. Thank you, Orlando.
Bring my fishing pole. Okay. And one suggestion is to provide your names and titles for the redevelopment agency prominently as evidence of the former mayor's openness of Las Vegas city government. I think it would be really nice to realize that the agency is also our council with different hat. The subtitle on we have here the fourth PDF, City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency Relocation Rules and Regulations. And the title for that is Rules and Regulations for Implementation of the Uniform Relocation. And on the form, it has the word assistance in there, but the word assistance is not on this. And Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended and Nevada Revised Statutes Chapter 342. We were just curious why the word assistance had been omitted from that. Is there something that was changed in the content of this, or was it just a...
Let me find out. Mr. Arndt,
I can answer
could you
that.
address that, please?
State law requires that we provide assistance. If the word was left out, it doesn't interrupt the force of state law. So we will provide assistance.
It should be in there,
I'm sorry, it probably should be in there.
because the actual title does have that. Yes, yes. As we perused, it did sound as though there was assistance, and so I thought, as we discussed it all, that we were just curious why that was omitted from the title. So,
Like I say, under state law, under certain circumstances, we're required to provide the assistance, even if the word was accidentally omitted from the document you're looking at.
okay, well.
So it's in. It's in there.
Okay. And
Please
so
proceed.
we appreciate, okay. And item 3, what is the total dollar cost of the entire project presented today, and what percentage will be from our federal taxes? And I think Mr. Arndt probably did address some of that, but isn't there also some federal tax money involved in that?
The initial creation of this area, we did provide seed money from the city which is general fund money of $1 million. There's no federal tax money that's going into the area through the new area, so it's really a contribution from the city. We expect to get new private investment, which would come back to the city through various sources, which would basically return that initial seed money investment back to the city. But to answer the question, there's zero federal tax money going in.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And number 4, where can we...
Excuse me, Mr. Arndt, let me give you my copy, so the questions I think you can possibly, or do we have an extra one from our clerk? Because I think as you quickly take a gander down here, you can see what you can address or should address. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Our copier person did not...
Not to worry. We're on
it's not
item number
functioning here.
4.
Yes, Mayor. Or what do I call you? Agency Mayor? Okay. Where can we find the standard used to determine locational, as spelled on page 21, because it came up on our printer that was misspelled, but anyway, the locational is the word criteria. So where can we find the standard used to determine locational criteria?
Mayor, if I might make a kind of more general comment and invite City Attorney Gerbert to jump in also, but today's action before you, we're receiving public comment. There's certainly a big volume of paper listed as supporting documentation, and if there's any technical questions or concerns, you're not approving these documents today. You would be considering them when the ordinance comes up for reading on August 5th, scheduled for August 15th. So if there are some inaccuracies, some things that maybe need clarity, we certainly have the ability to address those between now and August 15th. I think a lot of these questions are that sort of thing. It's really meant to explain today what is the redevelopment area, what does it mean to the city and to individual property owners. So I think most of the questions are technical in nature, and certainly glad to hear them today, but a technical question might deserve a technical response, and we'd be glad to provide those answers point by point.
Thank you. Mr. Gerbert, do we want these read into the record by the podium or not? Or just as submitted here today?
Well, it's your call one way or the other. It is a public hearing. Ms. Clark has every right to put her comments on the record, provide them in writing and verbally if you want to hear them verbally as well. But I think Mr. Arndt's correct. We're not going to today have the ability to answer very many of the technical questions. It's mainly to get public comment, and Ms. Clark knows this pretty well. We'll be happy to call you back and answer every one of them.
Okay. My suggestion then would be maybe to meet with Mr. Arndt on behalf of these, and we have a list that you have given, which we have turned into the city clerk, so it's a matter of record. They do not have to be read, in my opinion, because we have your printed and signed copy. So if Mr. Arndt could make himself available at the appropriate time then to answer the questions that are on here.
Mayor, maybe just a suggestion for procedurally. Maybe we just formalize a response to the 12 questions, and then we could enter them into the record at the next consideration of this overall motion, so you know how we disposed of them. Either we made the adjustment in the document, or we explained what the situation was. That way there's no question that we responded to all of the issues that are outlined.
All I was suggesting, because it's not we're not doing motions or anything today, it is solely public hearing, that in fact as submitted we have received them, they are documented, will be given to the city clerk. And we should not be making motions during public hearing, I don't believe. So, with your permission, of course, and that of the council, and with your permission, knowing we each have a valid copy, if you could find time at the appropriate time to meet with Mr. Arndt, these will be submitted into the record as public comment from you and the Charleston Neighborhood Preservation. Because we can't answer them today.
I would, yes, and that's perfectly fine. We did want to pose the questions verbally. This is going to be shown, and and because that helps us make a decision whether or not, and if nothing is known about the detail, and I'm sure that some of them are, But,
Well, what I'd like to
But
do
I-
then,
I-
if you
I-
want
I
this...
appreciate
okay.
your response.
If you would like this as part of the oral record, I'm going to, only because I know how well and somewhat rapidly but accurately he reads. I'm going to ask our city council, with his permission, to read through these so that they are at least orally a record as well, which is what Ms. Clark has asked. Will you do that? Oh, we will pass them to you. Is that all right, Ms. Clark?
Madam Mayor,
Okay, yes, I hear you. Where are you?
I'm down here. I'm the guy that did not get the dress code memo.
Oh. Are you, yeah. You may get fired.
Yeah, I may. You're right. Didn't they go into the record when she read them?
Well, they haven't all been read, and that's what she was asking her. After number, we read, I think, 3. So if we could give them to our council to read 4 and through, is that all right with you, Ms. Clark? Then it's an oral record as well as the written.
yes, and the last 2 points, Mr. Jervik, would you read those also? They are not questions, they are just comments from our neighborhood group, and we'd appreciate
Good.
that being read as well. Thank you.
I'll go through 1 through 13, and it'll be pretty clear as I read them which ones are questions and which ones are comments. 1, provide the names and titles for the redevelopment agency prominently as evidenced as former mayor's openness of LV city government. 2, the subtitle, which we presume is federal reference, rules and regulations for implementation of the Uniform Relocation, is missing the word assistance, and Real Property Acquisitions Policy Act of 1970 as amended, and Nevada Revised Statutes, Chapter 432. If assistance was omitted, how is eliminating portions of the federal act legal? 3, what is the total dollar cost of the entire project presented today, and what percentage will be from our federal taxes? Page 9. 4, where can we find the standard used to determine, quote, locational, as spelled on page 21, criteria? 5, what are the addresses of the mobile homes referenced on pages 35 and 36? 6, are you elected representatives required to provide citywide notice of timeline for notice of wording and proposed amendments to these rules, regulations, procedures, and policies contained within these 60 or 66 pages? 7, will public comment meetings will be held regarding each proposed amendment to, quote, these rules and regulations, procedures, and policies within these 66 pages? 8, what are the odds that any public comment can make changes other than those pre-chosen? 9, what is the reference site for determination of, quote, after expiration or termination of the term pertaining to eviction on page 59? 10, do City of Las Vegas or federal employees make that number 6 determination? 11, quote, a reasonable number of offers with a blank space, unquote, requires 2 questions. A, what is the reference for, quote, reasonable number? And B, is the person a CLV or federal employee? Page 59. 12, blank number of offers of replacement dwellings, unquote, requires 2 questions as number 8. A, criteria for replacement. B, is person a CLV or federal employee? And 3, I'll read this verbatim, and this is Ms. Clark's words, not mine. Thank you, Vince Suprinowicz, for your last Sunday Review Journal review points regarding land seizures. Those are the 13 that are listed, including the last comment. Having read them, I think we can answer all of those. I might have to call you, Ms. Clark, to get some details as to fill in what I think you were asking, but I think we can answer all those questions for you before this appears on the public agenda again.
That means August 15th? Is that
Yeah, we could easily have something out before
August
then.
15th? Okay. Okay, so in closing, from the neighborhood group, we are pleased with you, Mayor and Council, in this agency role, that Section 1, Article 1, Section 22 of our great state of Nevada Constitution seems to have been left intact. PISTOL, P-I-S-T-O-L, is sacred to you, we trust. And Charleston Neighborhood, signed by June Ingram, our president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Art. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please come forward and state your name.
Good afternoon.
Here.
Here.
Button.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
This is first of all, I have to say this is an amazing new building. I learned something already. Thank you. And this is actually my 3rd City Hall, so I'm delighted. What a wonderful legacy this building is, and how nice to see all your smiling faces. to Mayor Goodman, Councilwoman Tarkanian, and councilmen. Sorry, my name is John DeBella, 2021 West Charleston, DeBella Flowers and Gifts for 28 years. I just wish to offer my total and complete support for this. It's an amazing thing that's coming our direction. Thank you so much for considering it. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeBella. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please come forward and also state your name.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Stephen Fink. I'm here to support the RDA's efforts and your efforts to expand the redevelopment area. And that recommendation comes from an experience that I had with the development at Allure, which is part of the redevelopment area. Some of you may remember that I was involved in that from the beginning, where I was originally a broker on that deal. And when the entity that bought that land came to me to find some land for them back in 2004 to build a high-rise condo project, I showed them 6 or 7 different parcels, and they chose the parcel in the city because of the redevelopment area and the potential to have the tax increment financing that was available. And that TIF really came in handy in order for them to get the financing that they needed, because it served as additional collateral to the primary lender. And certainly the project has become a success despite the last 5 years of our real estate market, as Allure has recently sold its last unit. So the developer has sold out 427 units at their condominium project. I'd like to say that they sold it out at what they originally thought they would get for it. That's not the case, but nevertheless, it's a very successful project. And what Mr. Arndt had said before, that, you know, but for the TIF, it would not have been here. So but for the RDA, that project would not have been built. And so this is an opportunity, I think, for developers to come in and do some work, as well as the local businesses and the smaller property owners, to beautify the area and make it a better place to do business, better place to live. So I wholeheartedly support the development of the RDA. Thank you.
Thank you so much for participating. I must tell you, the people, the residents of Allure, are so happy, and it's grand to hear that it is sold out. Wonderful. Anyone else, please? I saw you, sir, that you stood up.
Now, let me ask you a question, please. My name's Carl Plunkett. I've lived in Las Vegas Valley all of my life. My mother still lives in the city of Las Vegas. How many of you folks have had a chance to read the paperwork, the documents that we're talking about? Anybody?
The comprehensive document as supported?
Mm-hmm. Just wondering.
You're just right.
Since it's in your area, great. Part of my confusion is everybody says what a wonderful thing it is, and maybe it is. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm... But in looking through, I foreclosed on a property. I loaned some money and foreclosed on a property on West Charleston last year, October. And the way I found out about this, this whole development situation is through the newspaper. And when I talked to Mr. Richard Atkins yesterday, he checked, and I guess the notices that went out didn't come to me because I guess you guys were using a property list that was prior to October, which seems a little odd, but okay. So I finally got some of the information. I asked to have a copy of this, and he said, well, we can copy one for you at $1 a page, and there's 229 pages, so if you'd like to see it, $229. Anyway, he let me come down here and see it yesterday. I tried online, but referring back is almost impossible online. So I started looking through there, and I guess I'm a careful, kind of a cynical guy anyway, but I found eminent domain in here over and over and over, and when the people representing the city been talking about, oh, we're not going to use eminent domain, it's in here a lot, and it's one of the many tools that you guys have to make people do what you want them to do, and that's what this is about. Now, a question I have, somebody said something about removing a property from the development area. Is that something that's possible? I guess I didn't see that in my brief review of the stuff. But let me ask a simple question. If I want the property that I have removed from the redevelopment area, does that mean that I'm not going to be covered by all of the rules and regulations and everything that's in this document?
Counsel?
Right now, the hearing is to discuss exactly what you're talking about, whether you want your property in the area or not. This is the time, if you don't want it in, to ask the questions as to what benefit it would be to you or to what disadvantage it would be to not have it in. If at the end of the day, the council, after you hear that testimony, decides not to include it, then it won't be in the area. If it's in the area, then it's almost impossible for it to not be in the area. It doesn't necessarily mean that any action will ever be taken against it. So I guess my question to you is, are you here today to testify that you do not wish your property to be in the area?
This is the first time I've ever heard that I have the choice. But anyway, so what you're telling me is that it's not a unilateral thing. If I choose to have it removed, that doesn't mean it's going to be removed.
No, it's the council's choice after hearing testimony. But if you want them to consider removing your property, this is the day to tell them.
But they're not going to take any action today, right?
Today, they will not take final action, that's correct.
Well, and I don't know if I want it removed or not. That's why since I just heard about this, but anyway.
Can I suggest that Mr. Arndt's in the front row, and he's got his capable staff with him as well? Perhaps you get together for a few minutes while the hearing continues, and maybe that'll help focus the discussion.
And I have a couple. Where do I live currently?
I mean, why you're not getting this in the mail? We sent out numerous notices.
I don't know. On October 7th.
You don't live in the city.
Oh, hang on.
Well, okay.
On October 7th, I foreclosed on the property, so it was a matter of public record on that day. Now, I did not receive any notice of the redevelopment area or anything. I found it in the newspaper. And if I hadn't happened to see it in the newspaper, then I would have missed the whole
You know,
program.
the only thing I can say is we have had numerous meetings for the public. Right up until, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, we had one at the Water Authority office, and we have sent out notices, and it may be that that didn't get on the record because it was over originalist. I don't know, but I do know this. I do know that we have said at our meetings several times that if you have property and you don't want it in the district, you can opt out by sending the letter, and that means you're out.
Okay.
In fact, in the original RDA Area 1, there was an area like a donut hole, wasn't there, Ricky, in your area, that did not want to go in. They were afraid of this or that, so they didn't want to go in. And once you opt out, you're out until the RDA proposal comes again, and now they want to get back in. But I just want you to know that they were able to opt out originally in the first time we did this, and now they are able to do that too, just by a letter, letting us know.
That's very
We wanted
clear.
to let you have your choice as a resident.
Thank you. Again, I'm not sure I want it removed. I think I do, but some of these concerns, eminent domain is a very powerful tool. And also, it says, basically, anytime you get a permit or do anything with your property, the agencies has to approve it. And so, one more layer of problems. It's just,
Well,
it's unbelievable.
as far as the eminent domain, in 2006, shortly after I was elected, we passed a resolution. It was backed by every single member of the council, and it stays to this day. Now, if you have NDOT coming in and they use eminent domain, for transportation or something, there's nothing we can do about that. If you have something for safety reasons, there's a small slice of land near a curve or something that has to go, there's nothing we can do about that. But as far as property going from private to private through eminent domain, that does not exist at all, as far as we are concerned on this council.
When you say private to private, do you mean you have eminent domain so that an owner like me no longer owns it, and this new owner owns it if you're trying to make an assemblage or something like that? Is that what you're meaning?
I'm going to check with Bill to make sure I have all my words right. I wouldn't want to mislead you on that one.
Well,
He's right behind you.
What it seems to say in here is that the city would acquire the property if they decide that they're going to do it, and then I suppose that they would make it part of either a larger assemblage or something to make it a benefit to the city as the city sees it through the redevelopment area. And that may not be a direct private to private, but that's the way it ends up.
Mr. Arndt, please.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask Scott real quickly to address just kind of a high level why some of those documents are in the backup. What drives having them in there, and why are they written the way they're written?
This is Scott Adams. I'm the city's Chief Urban Redevelopment Officer and the Chief Operating Officer of the Redevelopment Agency. I think it's important to point out that when you first establish a redevelopment agency or an area, a new area for an agency like we've already got, a lot of what you see in this paperwork is driven by state statute. We have established as a policy, you have, acting as council and as the redevelopment agency, that you will not, you've done this by resolution, do a private to private taking. But in spite of that fact, the statute gives agencies two primary powers, tax increment financing and the power of eminent domain. But we have established as a policy, we will not use the power of eminent domain. But the statute says when you create an area, you have to put in the startup documents of that area and of the agency certain things for the protection of owners, because you hold those powers as an agency. So I just wanted to point that out, that thick, large volume of documents are really for the property owner's protection against something we by policy don't use as a city acting as the agency.
And is it not true, however, that NDOT or some other different governmental body that supersedes us, our power, could in fact use eminent domain?
And quite often that is confused, that you will see that some other agency that does have or enjoy eminent domain powers may do a taking, like for a road, a right-of-way, or whatever, and it's thought of as a taking by, quote, government acting as an agency when in fact it's not. It's another entity that's doing it for the normal purposes of government, like streets and roads and utilities and those kinds of things.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
I understand that very well. Right here, I don't know, it says page 10, and I don't know exactly which section, but it says property acquisition. Let me briefly read what it says. Acquisition of real property. The agency, capitalized, may acquire but is not required to acquire any real property located in redevelopment area number 2 by purchase, lease, option, gift, grant, bequest, devise, or eminent domain as authorized by law. Now, you guys may have an agreement now not to use that, but all the city council has to do is say, man, we're tired of that, we're going to change that. Then this says, if I say, well, but you told me that you're not going to exercise eminent domain, and you're going to say, read it. What does it say? It's been approved. Okay, you can take it away. Now, listen to this. The agency is authorized to acquire structures without acquiring the land under those structures, where the structures are located. The agency is also authorized to acquire any other interest in real property less than fee. You guys have unbelievable power in this thing. And basically, what the land property owner's left with is we get to do what you tell us to do, no matter what, and if we don't, we're in deep trouble. Now, eminent domain, you have to pay what the property is worth. Oh, neat. Prices are way down right now, so, and may stay down for a little while. So if you guys decide to acquire a property like mine, you'll take it away for whatever appraisals say the value is, which is less money than I've got in it, and I don't have any choice, because the law says that's what you can do if you approve this area.
Can I help address? I've had experience with this simply because I served in the legislature which passed the rules, statutes, limiting local government's ability to take willy-nilly. We've had bad experience. You've lived here all your life, Carl, so you know You know of the instances of the Pappas property
I
downtown.
certainly have
You
read
may or
that.
may not know about the property near the airport. And there's instances, the county and the city, they've made mistakes. So these mistakes, while they were in the extreme, they nevertheless were very much exactly what you're talking about. And therefore, not only are these self-limits in the city code passed by ordinance, which you rightly say could be changed by this council, on the other hand, there is the statutory authority which supersedes the city charter and is the controlling document when it comes to the ultimate authority of a city or a county or a water district or anything like that. So, you know, the big thing is no taking to give to somebody else, some other private party. That was the worst abuse. And, you know, that's gone. And we're not going to do it, not because we don't want to. We can't, too. So there's certain things we really are going to be discussing here that are kind of academic at this point. When a word appears in a document like this bill, well, the word's eminent domain. There's a whole structure of state law on eminent domain, but you can't make reference to the limitations on eminent domain or the bill would be this long. So there's a lot of things inferential in a bill like this, Carl, always. I mean, Juanita Clark and the Nevada Concerned Citizens and others have a lot of experience with the way the state worked on this. And so they know this to be true. But it's something you just have, you know, never say trust you, except I do that now and then. The point is that trust didn't work, and so laws were passed to control this whole process. I'm limited by the legislature, by the acts that I voted on.
When you mention trust, so you're saying,
No,
trust us.
No.
You
Just,
know.
I only threw that as a metaphor. Don't trust. We're not trusting. I'm not trusting you, you're not trusting me, and I wouldn't trust anybody else. And just make sure it's in writing.
Well, but it is in writing, and if you approve this, then I'm backed up against the wall. I get to do exactly what you tell me to do.
I'll ask staff a question because the mayor elicited this question and got a good response. You want out, you can get out. If redevelopment is passed, you can still get out. How many people, Bill or Scott, and the redevelopment, we passed that in about 86 or 87, 85 or 87 in Carson City. How many people want out of redevelopment now? In the existing very large redevelopment one, how many people want out now? We have a list. Have we got a line of people wanting out?
Councilman, just anecdotally, most of the people that we've talked to related to this item have been supportive. Just a historical reference, and Councilman Barlow lived and breathed this, so I know he's aware with it, but we did an expansion of the existing area back in 2006, and there were similar concerns from property owners. There's a lot of residential in close proximity to commercial in the historic West Las Vegas community, so there were concerns from property owners, and some property owners did ask to have their property removed. Since that time, we've held a lot of community meetings in the West Las Vegas community, in the community that's here before you today, in your community as well, Councilman, and they see the actions of the agency over the last
Bill, you're
several
giving me a
years.
long answer to what I think is a really easy softball I threw at you. If people wanted out of it because it wasn't working or it was
If
really
people
abusing
want
people,
out-
how many people want out now?
If people want out, we will remove them. We've only heard affirmatively from 2 people for this action that have asked to remove their properties.
But in that place where we've had redevelopment in my ward for 20-plus years, how many people want out now?
I don't know of any in Ward 3.
Nobody wants out. I mean, they could get out. So I
Well,
don't want to
well,
answer
may-
any questions from you,
I
Carl.
think,
Look, may I
Just
make
telling you
just a
that
point of
Betsy?
If it doesn't work, you can
clarification?
get out.
Ms. Fretwell?
I don't want people to misinterpret. Once a district is established, and that parcel is included in that district, so you all have voted on an ordinance, the only way they get out is by us going back through this same process, the extensive notification, and amending them out. So, for instance, Councilman Coffin, if there were a parcel in your ward that's been in the RDA for the last 20-some years, in order to get out, they would have to go through this same process in order to amend the district boundaries. So it's really important for anyone, this gentleman included, to make that determination before your final ordinance is adopted, because after that is codified, they're in until you amend it again.
Betsy, I think the point is, and just, sorry, Your Honor, the point is no one has been asking me to get out, and nobody asked, there's no references in the files of anybody in the Ward 3 file, so want out.
Mayor?
That's proof is in the pudding, I guess.
Councilman Beers? Oh.
In your area, you say that the redevelopment's been in your area. What is the primary thing from a owner's point of view? What's your primary?
Look around you when you go back outside the building. Look what's happened. That's it. That's my...
Without question, it's enhancement. I think that's it. Councilman Barlow?
Yes, very good question. I believe your name is Carl?
Carl.
Very good question, Carl. I've been working in this capacity of redevelopment for the entire career. I've been here at the City of Las Vegas, and that's been since 1999. And having gone through this very arduous process, I can share with you that the same concerns that you have, there were easily 60, 70, 80 of Carls in the room back in the 90s and a few in the 2000s when we brought this back for the expansion because of the concern of eminent domain and properties being confiscated by the city because there was this myth that the City of Las Vegas was coming in to snatch and grab everyone's property. So for those properties that chose to be out prior to the council voting on the current RDA, which my ward, I believe, has roughly 70, 80% of it, of the current RDA, those residents have now since come back and they want to be a part of the RDA. Now, the question that you asked was, what are the benefits? The benefits is the taxing and bonding ability, the capturing of incentives for developers to come in and clear communities of blight. In conjunction with the City of Las Vegas, one great thing that this mayor and council did a decade ago was basically establish a resolution that we would not come in and basically just take someone's property for nothing, for no reason. And I believe we have not done that, not since I've been here. And that's been since 1999, as I mentioned before. But the developments and the projects that we brought online since that time has been tremendous, and it really has made an impact as far as turning not only the downtown, but a lot of the neighborhoods around from an economic development standpoint. I mean, you can look from this City Hall location where you currently are, beautiful building, great impact on the neighborhood around it. We basically, of course, have the RTC across the street, the Smith Performing Arts Center, everything out at Symphony Park, from the Lou Rouveau, the World Market Center, the one of the best performing malls in the nation is right here at the Las Vegas Premium Outlet. You have the Mob Museum, the Cultural Corridor. You have the West Side School development that's basically within the RDA, basically going to change the face of the community. The Enterprise Park out at Lake Mead and Martin Luther King. So there's a lot of developments that are basically coming online because of the incentives that the redevelopment agency has to offer to the private sector to come in to rid the community of blight and bring back in developments that will basically turn the lights back on once again and make this community a very progressive and proud community once again. The eminent domain, yes, that is something to be concerned about. But one thing that I believe is if you look at the track record of the previous administration and the current administration, which there's some overflow from the previous administration that still sits here, is that we're still holding toe as far as our mission to stand behind the resolution that was established in 2006, I believe, Bill, that isn't something that we're going to use as a tool. We want to work with you. So whether you have a site that is currently outside of the RDA, we want to work with you if in fact you're looking to improve it. If you're inside the RDA, we want to work with you because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have developments in our community that the community can support and embrace and something that will continue to keep our city a clean city, a beautiful city, and a progressive city. And so your concerns are not landing on deaf ears because I understand your concerns because I've been down that road before and I understand exactly where you're coming from. And so whether you choose to be in or out of the RDA, I can share with you from experience to answer your question in conclusion is the fact that those individuals who opted out in 2002, 2003 of the RDA, they were rushing back trying to figure out, well, how do we now get back in? And so we're having those conversations today to basically include them into the RDA because they see the great good that it has caused in bringing forward positive projects that really have impacted their community from a aesthetic standpoint. So hopefully that shed some light, if not in fact answered your question completely.
Thank you, Councilman Barlow. I think
thank you all
it is for the greater good, and I think that's what we're about. But today, I mean, we are trying to hear from the public. We appreciate your concerns. They are falling on listening ears, and I think what we're about here is just to give everybody an opportunity to voice their thoughts. And that window, though, for that letter that you had requested was how long to opt out? What was the window for the written authorization to opt out?
Mayor, the ordinance is being considered on August 15th, so we just need notice within the next week to 2 weeks in order to have time to make sure we pull those individual properties, if there are any, from the map so that it's included in the final documents.
And I would add to it, too, again, this is a hearing for everyone. The key issue is the questions that you might have for clarification before you make a decision that you may regret or may not regret is to be an informed individual. And I think Mr. Arndt and Mr. Adams and everybody in the department would be happy to do that for you. Because to listen to Councilwoman Tarkanian and Councilman Barlow, those who didn't understand perhaps opted out and now see the great advantage for the greater good and want to be part of it. And so this is really an incentive to help bring back a downtrodden area. And that, in a very simple sense, that's what it is. So please avail yourself of Mr. Arndt and his expertise. You have any questions for our legal counsel as well. But we appreciate your coming forward.
Thank you for your time and comments.
Thank you.
And those were good questions. Very good.
Okay, anyone else please come forward and state your name.
Hi, my name is Mike Keeler, and like Carl, I purchased my property in November, and I didn't get the notice mailed to me. It was mailed to the previous owner. Fortunately, it was my mother-in-law, so she handed it to me. So you guys are using some old data there.
It's nice to have a good relationship with a mother-in-law.
Very important, I believe you. Again, my property's on Decatur, and in the front of my building is a big dirt median, and as far as I know, it's been a big dirt median for 20 years or so. One thing that I would say the city could do to remove blight is put some rock there, or some of these neat metal cacti, things like that. Is something like that in this plan here?
I think, you know, what we're doing, that's part of our public works, and you can see what's happened down Rancho, down Martin Luther King. It's always in our plan to make neighborhoods as beautiful and attractive as we can, but it's all part and parcel to taking a blighted area and making it something that's attractive to new business or to fix up a business that really doesn't look right. And so I would just have Councilwoman Tarkanian would like to respond to that.
Okay.
Yes, we can do that with the Visual Improvement Program in the RDA. And you may have noticed that on Charleston, on Valley View, and some on Upland, and on Rancho, we already have taken those dirt medians and improved them and beautified the area. That's what we hope to do also along Decatur. That's one of the things we hope we will be able to do to make the aesthetics of the area vibrant, and so people will want to have the businesses in an attractive area and come there.
Okay.
And we've done that already in certain areas, but we don't have the funds to do it at all, and that's why we're hoping this will help us.
Yeah. I've seen it happen on a lot of other streets around Las Vegas, and some of these streets aren't even 20 years old. They've been updated since then. And so, to me, I'm kind of frustrated, just, why haven't you gotten around to my street? You're fixing this one again.
I thought you'd be all excited that we got
I'm excited that
Charleston
it's
and
finally
Upland.
happening, but in my mind, it should have happened 10, 20 years ago.
Well, we had to delay Decatur because the bus routes and some of the bus entity where the turnouts were, they were being redone. Some of them were being done in other places, but not as many as on Decatur. So that's why it was at the back end of our list. But it is in our next phase, it's down planned, and that's where we're going gung-ho on.
So it'll be done next week.
Sorry, I don't think we can make it next week. But
Unless
it's in the
Councilwoman
planning.
Tarkanian gets a nice big donation from somebody in the private sector. We can move that much quicker.
Thank you.
We'll name that Charleston median after, that Decatur median after whoever wants to donate that large sum.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Okay, hearing none, there is no motion required on this item, and we will move on to citizen participation. Okay. And Councilman Ross, you are smiling and laughing a lot. I know you want to recognize someone here.
I do, Mayor. Thank you very much. I'm just, Mayor Pro Tem and I are giving each other a hard time.
Mr. Ross, if I could just say, some people are leaving now. If they have any questions, don't hesitate to call my office or to call the city office. Leave your name and we will get back to you, or we'll have Bill Arndt get back to you.
Thank you.
Good point,
Councilman.
Councilwoman. Anybody has any questions, certainly contact any of our offices about this process. A couple things I just want to say. I know Mr. DeBella had spoken earlier, Mayor, but I do want to put a plug in for DeBella Flowers and Gifts. If you haven't purchased any flowers from John and his wife, you need to. Best flower shop in town, as far as I'm concerned. I used to work for him when I was a kid, so I can say that. Also, there's a few young men in the back with scout uniforms on. Would you young men stand up, please? Mayor and council members, I think these young men are here as Boy Scouts, and I think they are here to fulfill, and you can nod your heads for me, requirements for your citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, perhaps? Yes? Just community? All right. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me recognize them. Give them a round of applause for being here today.
You're working on fixing your small corner of the world, right? And that's local right now.
Thank you and welcome. Are they still here? Oh, good. There you are, way back there. Did you stand up?
Yes, we did.
We did. I'm so sorry. I applaud you all. Thank you. Anyway, our citizen participation, which we are about to go into, I know our city manager has a point that you would like to address, please.
Well, this is related to the hearing that you just recently closed the public hearing on. I have staff validating a couple of things regarding the lists. There were two that testified that they were not notified. And I just want to verify that we had the appropriate list under NRS to ensure that people were adequately noticed. So if it's possible, Mayor, for us to take a brief recess while we verify that, and then we'll be ready to proceed.
How many minutes?
Well, they're making frantic phone calls right now, so could we say 5?
Okay, it is 4 minutes after. I'm going to add a minute because I like round numbers. At 10 minutes after, we'll take this recess quickly and proceed on with the citizen participation. So don't go very far. In fact, I'm not sure you should get up. Ms. Fretwell? Okay. If we went into the citizen participation, would, or do you want to hold that? Okay. Okay, I think since we are still all here and around, and we will be long enough for those who are in the 6-minute window, we'll go ahead with the citizen participation. There's a public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the City Council. No subject may be acted upon by the City Council unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. So if there's anyone who wishes to be recognized and speak under this portion of the agenda, please come forward. You mean you all just like the afternoon entertainment at the City Council in this special redevelopment hearing? That's very interesting. So we will just sort of stall out here. Please don't leave. We will wait for our city manager to come back and advise us.
Now?
Oh, are you coming up to make public comment? Do it very slowly, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Eli Schwartz.
Would you spell your last name, please?
Schwartz.
With T-S-T, just T?
S-D-H-W-A-R-T-Z.
T-Z, thank you.
This is my first time in this building.
Welcome.
I am hearing impaired, and I will tell you, I'm very disappointed with this brand-new building because you don't have the appropriate devices for people who are hearing impaired. Yes, they do have the ear thing, but I'm oral. I need to closed caption. And I mean,
very good suggestion.
So that would make it very, I mean, especially if you got the monitor up there, there's no reason why they can't type it on the monitor.
It is apparently, of course, on television, as you would know, but here we don't. But perhaps something, Mr. Riggleman, we can pursue. Is there any way, or have someone who we will certainly look into it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, if I could use the opportunity, because I received the question from Mr. Riggleman, this would probably be an appropriate opportunity to float it for the first time. Every commercial station in town looks for donations for closed captioning, and we've been asked the question, how does the city as an entity ask for that? And I've indicated that there are strict rules that prohibit us from doing or asking for donations in a particular way, but this would be an appropriate time to let any member of the public know or any business know that the City of Las Vegas would greatly appreciate any donations from businesses or members of the public that wish to see our shows closed captioned, because they are very expensive to do, and we need money to offset the cost. Is that appropriate, Mr. Riggleman?
Well, I would just like to say that, Mr. Schwartz, are you leaving? Is he leaving? Where are you? I can't see. Hi, sorry. I figured somebody next to you. Here I am. Yes. I think it was very important what you just said. And I think it's either the closed captioning, or if there are those who are not oral, they need the signing, they should be able to have that. And I think part of that is emphasized in ADA requirements. Now, I'm not sure.
It is part of the requirement. If you have a public area, you must provide
Yes.
devices that will enable the citizens to partake.
And I will tell you that a couple of meetings ago, it wasn't in council, I believe it was in our meeting with our with our manager, that we brought up some of the things that were needed for ADA, or some of the questions. And so we are going into that, and you're very appropriately timed in this, because it's a good time for us to realize that, and I'm so pleased that you brought that forward.
Thank you. You might want to learn from the Smith Center. They have what you call iCaption, which is a portable device. It is a wonderful concept. It's the first theater I've ever been to that has something like this. And they have it in the Smith Center. It makes it much more enjoyable for people like me.
That's a good thing for us to look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming forward. That's great. We will proceed to explore this. Okay, anyone else wishing to be heard at this point?
Could I just ask if Orlando or Betsy would make sure that we look into the piece of equipment he told us about that's being used at Smith? Because you don't need to have one every single time. You can use it over and over again, and I think it would be very valuable.
We'll certainly do that. Mayor, if it's all right, we've verified how we got the list. I'd like for Bill to read that into the record so that everybody's comfortable that we did follow the state law in using the assessor's records.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Arndt, please, if you would.
Thank you, Mayor, and I just, Bill Arndt, Director of Economic and Urban Development. I verified with the city attorney's requirements. It's real brief. I'm going to read that requirement and then just explain how we met that requirement. The requirement under NRS 279.580, item number 3. Copies of the notice must be mailed to the last known owner of each parcel of land in the area designated in the redevelopment plan at his or her last known address as shown by the records of the assessor for the community. What we did is we took the records directly from the assessor's database that is in our GIS system. We actually get that feed directly from the county, so it's not even our data, it's the county's data, and we use that information to send the notices. What we think is happening, we're not certain, but what we think may be happening is because the high volume of transactions with bank-owned properties, foreclosures and the like, that the county and their staff may just be having a hard time catching up to all the transactions. We have this issue come up on other items, but we did follow the NRS requirement. It's unfortunate. It sounds like at least 2 property owners here today did not receive the notice. I and my team are going to make ourselves available as much as we can to make sure all their questions and concerns are addressed, and I'll commit today at the hearing that any call made, we'll return the call the same day. So the general number, and there are 3 people that are primarily going to be handling this, but if the volume increases, we'll use all our staff if we have to. The main phone number is 229-6551, and Bill Arndt, Romeo Betty, and Rich Atkins are the 3 primary staff that will be assisting anyone with questions.
And will you also make that available or make some connection online so that those who come to our website can see that on redevelopment area 2 for questions or anything else would be great.
We'll work with IT staff to make that happen.
And again, the phone number, please.
229-6551.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, thank you for allowing us to double-check that. I wanted to be abundantly cautious on this because it's a significant, motion and future action of the council potentially. Also, just point out that sometimes communicating in a multitude of ways catches a lot of things that might not ordinarily follow the regular communication channels, and that's why we have multiple ways of communicating with potential property owners, and obviously in this case it worked. These individuals found out by reading the paper and reading that public notification. So that's why we have some of those things as safeguards.
Well, out of this very large population that only 2 have come forward from that learned of it is really quite remarkable in itself. So thank you, Ms. Fretwell. Anyone else wishing to be heard under this citizen participation? Well, then hearing, yes, sir.
Miller. How about there? All right. Victor Miller, I have a property on Decatur. Maybe the reason that we only heard about 2 is because the others didn't get it and didn't read the paper. But I guess the concern I have, and maybe this has, I had the property on Decatur, which was part of when Decatur was remodeled. Initially, the city was going to do that, and they were going to take part of my property. It was going to cost many, many, many millions of dollars. I think somebody told me 20-something. Ultimately, the Department of Transportation came and did it, didn't take any of my property, and did it for tens of millions of dollars less, is what the supervisor of the project told me. And he was boasting because the state and the transportation could do it cheaper. But as part of that, I had to deal with the city, and the city staff were, in my opinion, high-handed in dealing with me about losing my property. And so I have concerns about, that if all of this power is given to the city, for redevelopment, a redevelopment agency to there. That's my only comment is I have concerns that it gives a lot of power. The council are nice people, but the city staff, in exercising that power, sometimes are heavy-handed.
Well, I certainly hear you, but I will tell you, having traveled a great deal around, even in this brief year, but the past 12 years with my husband, we have the finest city staff, and I stand with them. And wherever, if there was an issue or something that didn't get clarified, so much of the time when we have problems, it's lack of communication. And if there was anything that sat wrong with you, I can just tell you the redevelopment concept is really an enhancement, an energizer, and something that really does specialize in creating a mood of the greater. So I'm a greater good for everyone, and so fortunately things worked out well for you. I'm an eternal optimist, and I have great faith that if we move forward, or as we move forward with this, you'll be very pleased.
So it takes a community to develop a community.
It takes each individual with a hand out and open ears to be part of making a great city, and we are well on our way. So this is just another offering where we have seen that the city as a government, which is the behind-the-scene group trying to encourage private investment and a wonderful lifestyle for all of us who love this place and call it home, to make it as good as we possibly can.
Is there, as part of this, is there an ombudsman type of person who can help assist property owners that feel that their voice isn't being heard with the redevelopment?
Absolutely, and that's why we have this form of government, your city council. This is the most remarkable group, I can assure you, and I walk up and down their corridors every single day, many, many times. That's the job of the city council person, and they love hearing from the constituent in their particular ward. And that's why we have come to this position right now, looking at a second redevelopment area, because I don't know how many years you've lived here, but the longer you're here, the more you see.
1954.
Oh. Wow. Which hospital were you born in?
I wasn't born here.
Oh, see, now you're aging yourself. I was going to give you 54.
So
but anyway.
So the concerns then would be to the city council, is that what you're saying?
To your ward council
Ms.
person,
Tarkanian.
Right.
I was just going to say, I didn't recall you contacting our office, but we have had individuals in the past who have contacted our office, who have had some concerns about how they were treated, and we talk with directors of programs, we've talked with staff, and we've had meetings of all of us together to try and get a win-win situation out of it. But I don't think that the public individual should be mishandled by the staff, and I don't think our staff feels that way. But I also know that life is life, and there are individuals at times, for whatever reasons, may not handle it as nicely as it could be handled. And if that happens, you can contact the ward representative, and they'll try and help you all they can.
Well, I don't want to misalign city staff. They were doing their jobs, and they met and we communicated. It's just that they had, it's A, B, C, and I said, how about A and B, or let's see if we can talk about some way to resolve this. And there was no discussion about any other ways. It's A, B, C, Mr. Miller, and that's the way it will be. And I'll send down my supervisor. So the next week I meet with somebody else, and it's A, B, C. There was no, it was a problem that I could not see for my business. They're taking, 15 feet of my parking, and there's no additional parking in the area. That was something
And I
that
can
wasn't.
understand that, but when it gets like that, where there's non-flexibility, and you feel that there is a need for and a possibility for the flexibility, again, I think you can go to your council person.
I hate to interrupt you, but this is a public comment item. If you would like for me to spend some time talking to this gentleman about that particular project, I'm happy to, but I'm just worried somebody might feel like we're deliberating on his issue, and
no,
we're not posted for that.
I think his issue's over. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah,
we can deliberate anymore.
that's long in the past. It just, that experience is what caused me to, just as public comment, make my concern when we're giving the city staff more power, and so I just was hoping that there was something in this ordinance, which will ultimately be coming, that provides for some sort of appeal or ombudsman or something to where the citizen can have a third party help alleviate some of these concerns.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea, and I'd be glad to talk with you afterwards to bring it up, and Betsy might consider it. I don't know. All I know is that I see your side of it many, many times, and I think it's imperative that we try and reach out and correct those, and I think we've been trying very, very hard to do that, to correct it, to make flexibility, to cut down on regulations and things like that, but we can always learn more. So that's what I would suggest you go to any of your representatives in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anyone else? And seeing and hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. This is your hall. This is the People's Hall, and thank you.